Spring football is in the air, and so are the recruits. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, let's talk about the recruits and spring football, and wow, Oklahoma off to a fast start on the first day of March hosting visitors. It is no longer coincidence that Lincoln Riley has been good at this, particularly when it comes to junior days. You'll notice the last junior day preceding this one was around the Super Bowl. The junior day that happened on, March 1st was during the NFL Scouting Combine. Well, we talk about name and likeness. We also talk about tying a kiddo's ambition to the university he goes to school with, because they all ultimately want to be in the NFL, and backdropping college football against the NFL and against recruiting is always going to be smart business, which is why I think you're seeing Lincoln Riley continue to try to take Oklahoma's recruiting to a different level. Now, did not finish as strongly as finished in 2019 when the Sooners were ranked number 6 in recruiting to finish that cycle. And then in 2020, finishing just outside the top 10 at 11. But that also coincides with getting a quarterback late as opposed to getting a quarterback early. Spencer Rattler was early in the boat. Chandler Morris was one of the last in the boat. Spencer Rattler is a 5-star quarterback. Chandler Morris is not a 5-star quarterback. All of these things figure in, but it's also one of the reasons why I believe Oklahoma is going to have a tremendously good 2021 class, even with only 3 kiddos in the boat, and even after losing Brock Vandergriff to a decommitment and eventual, what we're really calling a flip commitment, to Georgia. Now, Caleb Williams is on the board, and we'll have more to say about that because he's going to take an extended visit to Oklahoma. But I want to talk about Latrell McCutchin, who was the high-profile visitor, and Norman with his friend Andrew Mukuba, and that dude picked up an offer, and that dude has loved Oklahoma, and McCutchin was on this show talking, well, mad noise about Texas, and he's from the Austin area. He was a Bama commit at the time. Following his visit to Norman, what does he say? But, yeah, I'm reopening my recruitment. I'm thankful to Coach Saban for allowing me in. This is significant. This is significant because McCutchin was the first kiddo in the 2021 boat for Alabama and wounds them, leaving them with just 2 commitments in this class and in this cycle, and ranking them number 30 in very early, very, very early in the cycle. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, you kind of feel a bit of schadenfreude here because Drew Sanders, once committed to Oklahoma's 2020 class, flipped his commitment to Alabama, where I expect him to have a great and outstanding career. That also coincided with Mike Stoops coming on at Alabama as a defensive analyst, and he's going to be secondaries coach in Kentucky now. But Oklahoma fans feel some kind of way about this, especially in light of not just Drew Sanders, but also Jace McClellan, with Nick Saban coming in witching hour and flipping the top recruit in Oklahoma's 2020 class to Alabama. Now, McCutchin feels like a flip, feels like it is going to happen. I've reached out to him. I know many others have. It's been kind of quiet over there. He posted a tweet on Monday morning around about 10:45 saying, hey, I enjoyed my time at Oklahoma and I will definitely be returning. I think he's going to take some time with his recruitment, but I also would give Oklahoma an edge here based on the recent events, but also leading into his announcement that he was going to visit Oklahoma on March the 1st. He also said, gonna break Twitter. Gonna break it with my announcement here coming. And hey, man, it resounded in both Oklahoma message boards and Alabama message boards. Checking 247's Alabama side, Bama Online, the leading story, McCutchin's decommitment from Alabama. I don't know that they're freaking out in Alabama because Saban has a tremendous track record of locking up the guys that they need to compete year in and year out. Alabama's actually DBU if you're paying attention to the NFL, and there are numbers to back that up. Shout out to my buddies at College Football Nerds, the YouTube channel, who have put together that spreadsheet for you to go and find. But Xavier McKinney is going to be a first-round draft pick. We know this. Trevin Diggs is going to go high when he decides. We already know that Patrick Surtain Jr. is going to be highly coveted when he comes out. And they just keep turning him out at Alabama. Dean Milner is another that we can talk about. Now, knowing that, what was it that was going to take, McCutchin by surprise when he visited Oklahoma? Because I'd asked him, what's it going to take to perhaps sway you to thinking about committing to Oklahoma? He gave me a no comment, as many of you heard on this show. But now that we know that he is reopening his recruitment and Texas is probably not in the running, it's an open question as to, one, does he want to commit before the start of his senior season? Because he's coming off of a year where he didn't get to play much football because he had a knee injury, right? Told us on this show he tore his ACL and, didn't put together a junior year for the same sort of film that he had as a sophomore. And his film as a sophomore is outstanding. He played a lot of off coverage, but was tremendous coming downhill to make tackles and to jump routes. He had tremendous eye control, right? Reading number 2 inside, reading high hat, low hat off the left tackle or right tackle, depending on which side of the ball he's flipped on, and then following the quarterback's eyes, and then having enough skill and, frankly, just twitch to go and close on the ball late. So we know that it's there, but what do you want to risk having to show it again before making his decision? And I know that for many Oklahoma fans, getting a blue chip defensive back in the boat early is huge and does a lot of work for you heading into the April 18 spring game, for which we expect to see a few commitments. If not a few, then a bunch of kids that are going to probably end up picking Oklahoma based on how that visit goes. I wouldn't expect to hear a decision from McCutchin between now and then. Maybe they want to hold on to it, but we did see the eyes tweeted from Lincoln Riley, and folks are drawing, reading between the lines here about who that is and whether or not that's McCutchin. Until he says it is, it's open to discussion about who it might be, because there were quite a few kiddos on campus taking in Oklahoma. But I think OU fans got to feel really good about what Lincoln Riley and Annie Hansen and the entire staff were able to show, particularly to McCutchin, but also to all the recruits that came through, because one of the things that you know now about social media is the kids use Twitter to not only boost their own recruiting, but to talk to each other and to talk to others about what's going on at a particular program or institution. And really selling the program at Oklahoma, particularly for the defensive backs, is of utmost importance, because Oklahoma has not been outstanding in pass defense. We all know it. Still looking for some guys to fill out that all 22, if you will, for Alex Grinch's defense, particularly at the safety spot. Pat Fields and Delarian Turner-Yell had to play the bulk of the snaps at the safety positions because Grinch did not feel great about anybody else back there. This is coming from a guy who says, I want to play as many people as I possibly can. Feel good about Trey Brown at corner, and I think Jaden Davis is going to have a tremendous year at corner, and he's one of those guys that I think is absolutely going to take the leap here during the spring practice period when Oklahoma starts up. And now that we are very much into spring training and we are very much out of dead period, watching the recruits come through in March is going to be awesome. I mean, Alabama's got 10 already lined up for visitors. Oklahoma's going to have more than a dozen or so, it seems, right? You're going to have a high-profile 5-star on campus for an extended stay. He's going to take his time. We'll talk more about Caleb Williams in another segment. But I did want to talk about Latrell McCutchin and really touch on, I think he saw what he needed to see. Now it's about, will LSU show up late? Will Alabama continue to hunt him? Will others try to get into the mix? Folks like Florida, who has been really great about recruiting defensive backs here of late, and CJ Henderson, who's just had an outstanding showing in the NFL Scouting Combine, is going to be the person that they point to saying, hey, look at what we can do. There are others around, like Dave Aranda at Baylor might make a run at him. I could easily see Texas Christian trying to get in there, but Oklahoma got the visit. He announced his reopening of his recruitment and his decommitment just after the visit to Oklahoma, so you got to feel good if you are an OU fan.